chapter 52, verse 13, it says, "Behold, my servant shall deal prudently. He shall be exalted and extolled and be very high. Just as many were astonished at you, so his visage was more marred more than any man, and his form more than the sons of man." And so the breakdown from that, and I have it in my notes, is Jesus was so marred that when you looked at him, you didn't know if he was a male or female. When you looked at his face, his visage, they had plucked his beard out. He had to be tremendously brutalized, bruised, broken skin, swelling up. I mean, it was no movie can do it justice. And so this is what he was going through, and that wasn't the issue. The issue was the sin. It still goes back to the sin. You know, so if you look at Isaiah chapter 53, and this is a great chapter, we're going to see that he pays for our spirit, soul, and body. So Isaiah 53:1 says, "Who has believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? For he, Jesus, shall go up before him," God the Father, "as a tender plant, as a root out of dry ground. He, Jesus, has no form or comeliness, and when we see him, there's no beauty that we should desire him." So there's nothing physically about him that was extra special. He didn't look like Superman. He looked like a carpenter. He looked like a regular man. "He, Jesus, is despised, rejected by men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. We hid, as it were, our faces from him," from Jesus. "He was despised, and we did not esteem him. Surely he bore our grief, carried our sorrows. We esteemed him stricken, smitten of God, afflicted. He was wounded for our transgression. He was bruised for our iniquity. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. We like sheep have gone astray, everyone to his own ways. The Lord, the Father, has laid on Jesus the iniquity of us all." This is covenant. This is a sacrifice, which is one of the 9 signs of covenant that we're going to look at. You know, so if you jump over to verse 12, that's his body, right? Here's his soul. Start in verse 10. It said, "Yet it pleased the Lord," that's God the Father, "to bruise him, to put him to grief. When you make Jesus' soul an offering for sin," remember, he paid for us, spirit, soul, and body. "He shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He, God the Father, will see the labor of his soul and be satisfied. And by knowledge my righteous servant shall be justify many. He shall bear their iniquities." Again, "Therefore I'll divide with him the portion with the great. He shall divide the spoil with the strong," that's us. "Because he poured out his soul unto death, he was numbered with the transgressors. He bore the sins of many and made intercession for them." So we see his body and we sort of see his spirit here, you know, which was completely brutalized, right? I mean, it's terrible what he went through. But here's the thing. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, go to 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17. It says, "Therefore, if anyone is" what? "In Christ," covenant term. "He's a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things are new, have become new." So verse 17 really just says there's something very new about it, right? There's a new relationship. So here's the thing. When you understand our salvation, even at death, it's not complete. We are not completely saved at our death. Okay? It's sealed. Jesus paid for our spirit first. When we become born again, we become alive to God and the Spirit of God comes in us. That's what we're going to read here. Right? Our souls are saved, and through our entire life, it's called renewing the mind. It's one of our sessions. But our bodies Our resurrection bodies are not given to us until the second coming of Jesus. We're just a spirit and a soul in heaven. Our bodies are the final part of that salvation, right? So he had to pay for all three parts.